Let me be straight with you. Angeles City isn't what it used to be. The glow has been fading for years. You don't even need to look hard to see it. Walk down fields, and the cracks are obvious. Bars that never reopened, prime commercial spaces collecting dust, for rent, signs that have been hanging so long they're sun-bleached. These empty shells aren't just buildings, they're tombstones for the city's past life. And the scary part? Nobody's rushing in to fill them. If you've been around Fields Avenue before COVID, you know exactly what I mean. Neon lights, music pouring out of every doorway, a street buzzing with the energy of misfits, wanderers, soldiers who never went home, and tourists chasing the night. It was gritty, messy, sometimes ugly, but it was alive. Now, walk down that same strip and you'll feel like you accidentally landed in Seoul. Korean barbecue smoke fills the air, K-pop beats pound out of karaoke rooms, and the English menus are an afterthought, if they exist at all. The chaos that once defined the place? Gone, or at least pushed to the corners. And here's the kicker. Depending on who you ask, that's either progress or the slow death of what made Angeles, Angeles. COVID didn't just close bars, it broke the backbone of the city. Western-owned bars had been running on razor-thin margins for years. When lockdowns hit, they didn't have deep pockets or overseas investors ready to swoop in. Many of them folded. Permanently. The signs came down, the shutters went up, and the people who had poured their lives into these places, mostly Western expats, were forced to walk away. Some left town altogether. Some just drank their sorrows. Then, like clockwork, the buyers came. Korean investors with cash in hand. They weren't interested in keeping the old vibe alive. They had their own vision, their own market. And honestly, they moved fast. Within months, Fields Avenue started to change. The old cowboy bars and go-go joints became karaoke lounges and polished night spots blasting K-pop instead of classic rock. You can't ignore it. Koreans now make up more than half the tourists here. 60% by some counts. That's a tidal wave, and the city officials love it. They see the Korean community as reliable, long-term partners, big investors, people who bring money in, buy property, and don't rock the boat too much. So the doors opened wide. Permits, licenses, property deals, they all flowed smoother if you had Korean money behind you. Today, whole blocks feel like Seoul South. Korean supermarkets, clinics, schools, even real estate offices selling condos in Korean script. Walk around and you'll notice this isn't just tourism anymore. It's colonization by wallet. And here's where the frustration boils over. For decades, Angeles was a Western playground. Americans, Aussies, Brits, guys who came here and felt at home in the chaos. Cheap drinks, familiar music, and a community of fellow misfits who shared the same stories. Now, they feel like outsiders in a place they once ruled. Walk into certain bars, and the vibe is crystal clear. You're not welcome. Prices are inflated. Some places flat out cater only to Korean customers. There are whispers about Koreans-only venues, and even when it's not that blatant, the body language tells the story. You're tolerated, not embraced. Add in skyrocketing prices, drinks, bar fines, even rent, and a lot of Western expats feel pushed out. The budget traveler who used to stretch $1 here? Forget it. That guy's either back home or he's in Vietnam or Cambodia. I'll be honest, walking through Angeles now feels like flipping through an old photo album and realizing the faces have been swapped. The street looks familiar, but the soul feels different. Part of me misses the grit, the cheap thrills, the way it felt like anything could happen on Fields Avenue at 2 a.m. But another part of me sees why this shift happened. The Western expat crowd was shrinking even before COVID. Younger Westerners aren't coming here in droves. The old guard is aging, or broke, or both. Koreans fill the vacuum, plain and simple. And the truth is, cities evolve. Maybe this is just Angeles' next chapter. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Local government is fine with that. For them, it means steady income, development projects, and a cleaner international image. What Westerners call losing the magic, officials call progress. So here's where I land. If you're a Western tourist dreaming of the old Angeles, cheap beers, rock music, the camaraderie of fellow travelers, you're going to be disappointed. That chapter's closing fast. If you're an expat clinging to the past, you'll probably feel bitter every time you walk down fields. The place you loved has been remodeled, sold, and renamed. Because let's be honest, a city doesn't run on nostalgia. It runs on money, on who's willing to invest, who's showing up, who's paying the bills. And right now, that's not the Western crowd. It's the Koreans. But here's the problem. What happens when you build a city for one audience? What happens when the balance tips too far? Angeles used to thrive because it was a crossroads. Americans on R&R, Aussies chasing adventure, Europeans on long holidays, Koreans, Japanese, locals, all mixed into the same stew. It was messy, but it worked. Everyone carved out their corner, and the clash of cultures gave the place its pulse. Now it feels like the city has put all its chips on one bet. And if history tells us anything, it's that markets shift. Tourists move on. What feels solid today can collapse tomorrow. Remember when Angeles lived and died by the US Air Base? When the military pulled out, the city nearly collapsed overnight. Fields Avenue became the fallback plan, a kind of accidental economy. But it kept the lights on. Fast forward, and here we are again, leaning hard on one group to carry the city. Koreans have money now? Sure. But what happens if another market rises? If Vietnam becomes the next hotspot? If the peso keeps climbing and suddenly Angeles doesn't look like a bargain anymore? The city could be left holding the bag. Again. And that's what eats at me. Not just the loss of the old Angeles, but the question of whether the new Angeles is any more secure. Talk to the locals, and you'll hear a different tune. For many, the Korean wave has been a lifeline. Stable jobs, better paying customers, but scratch beneath the surface and you'll hear the grumbling too. Wages haven't kept up with costs. Landlords hike rent because the Koreans will pay more. Businesses that once catered to locals now cater almost exclusively to foreigners. And the wealth? It's not spreading evenly. A few families get rich on land deals. Everyone else just scrapes by. So while Westerners complain about losing their turf, locals quietly worry they're losing theirs too. Different reasons. Same sinking feeling. Here's where I come down. Angeles is at a crossroads again. The city can double down on being Korea's outpost in the Philippines, or it can remember what made it work in the first place. Being a melting pot, messy but magnetic, where everyone felt they had a place at the table. I don't know if that balance can be restored. Maybe it's too late. Maybe the train's already left the station, blasting K-pop out the windows. But I do know this. Cities that put all their eggs in one basket rarely hold onto their soul. They become fragile, easy to break, and hard to rebuild. And if Angeles has proven anything over the decades, it's that it can take a hit and still get back up. Mount Pinatubo buried it in ash. The US military packed up and left. COVID ripped the heart out of it. Each time the city stumbled, fell, and somehow found a way forward. The question now isn't whether Angeles will survive. It will. The real question is, whose city will it be when the dust settles? Because one thing's for sure, whoever owns the streets owns the story. And right now, that story is being written in Hangul, not English. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. So, what do you think? Can Angeles still be a melting pot? Or has it already shifted too far into being a Korean outpost? And if that's the case, is it good or bad for the city's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.